Hello again, my friend. Thank you again. It's just a continuation of my recording, going back to January and obviously December, and I believe early August last year back in southern Sudan. Yes, very complicated as obviously the music in the background, which is obviously if you could actually understand the main song here and the meaning of the song is basically about human right, and it's stating that basically everybody is equal as in human, basically, because the word ran is ran a tongue of meaning all human basically are equal, and obviously it's actually the true to the exception that of blood type, because there's only five blood group of human family that is and it says here no one is actually even though we are of five blood group, we may have different colors or different point of origin and experience. It doesn't matter. We are all actually equal, the same of human family, and respect, and must treat one another with respect and also with courtesy and love. Obviously, very important. Not only love for one another, but also for family and communities, and also being trying to be an outstanding citizen in a community, or whatever the community may be, or how small that community may be, all the way to international community. And that's actually where the main topic is, because I am actually now speaking to you in London, or somewhere in central London, obviously. And I was in southern Sudan, and today there was a declaration of some sort of, I believe the word here is famine, severe problem with famine. Obviously there's poverty, and obviously among other things, obviously if there's an emergency of famine declared, that is worldwide through the UNs and all the usual channels, then obviously there must be a problem, because obviously this season there is also dehydration problem, and also heat stroke problem also, which are relative to this season, plus on top of the actual fact that there would be a declaration of this kind of emergency. And I just can't imagine, because it will be it's dying. I mean, it's dying. It's a dying situation, because obviously you don't have water, you don't have food. Obviously, the medicine may be scarce, and you maybe stuck in the middle of 40 degrees. Obviously, things are very difficult, but obviously, let's just pray to God, and that obviously the meaning of this song is that he or her on this world who has a contribution to make. But contribution is very difficult to make, because only time and history will judge. Even in the midst of all that, it's not just internal problem, that are external problem to do with the world community, and also how obviously many years have actually gone by and have taken place, and many things have actually there are things, there are different things which obviously one can actually be glad about, obviously, but obviously in comparison or in relative to the actual progress, as in real term progress, which one can actually put hand on. But it's not just southern Sudan, it is also there's a knock-on effect in the global economy, and obviously there are many reasons why the world is not perfect. Let's be honest, my dear brothers and sisters. Life also is not perfect, obviously, and we can't go about judging and also putting things. It will be good, yes, but there are limitations as to what the laws say with regard to international boundaries, business, as in private business, government business, and also public business, or public matters. and there are laws also to do with family and communities, and also those who are actually classified to be of needing of some sort of parental or guiding, or obviously there are many categories of human problems in this world now, and obviously rumor out there is that of obviously there are problem of 18th century, that is obviously meaning 1700 if I'm correct, which is still right here with us in 21st century. And even before that, obviously one can go as far as saying 2017 before Christ, that is obviously that's 2017 years before the birth of Christ. Some of the problem which we actually had then, we still actually have them with us here on earth. Obviously these are problem to some of us, because there are impact. Obviously wherever you are in the world, the whole thing will basically have an impact on you. And I was in southern Sudan, and I can't imagine. I mean, obviously when I read the news through the social media of an outbreak of so-called famine in southern Sudan, well, I was taken aback, but I just there could be many reasons why this thing is happening. But obviously, it's not just as easy as one can possibly just say, well, it's famine this year and obviously next year is going to be better, because it's not that simple. It requires a change in a way of thinking and way of doing things, and obviously there are early indication of things which have actually taken place, which are actually good, which are obviously I cannot go into them because I haven't got a security clearance from the government of Southern Sudan to talk to you. But obviously there are a lot of all I can say is that there is the international community, even though when they brought out this report, I for one am taken aback, because that is not, I just came about 2 weeks and a bit now from there, and obviously yes, I was based in Juba, but obviously that is not the image which I would actually have to associate with Southern Sudan as of a famine. That is famine, basically. That's obviously I feel like I have been in different places, because I was there, and obviously yes, no, but it's a problem all over the world, by the way, because famine is all part of a food security problem around the world, whereby in some places food is actually being wasted, as in too much of it is actually there, and it's not actually being managed as in like with all other scarce resources. But it's not just food; it's also the medicine, the primary care system, the clean sanitation, clean water, the environment, which is also conducive to progress, as in human progress, and also standards of obviously standards are very complicated, from legal perspective all the way to social perspective, as in the world we now live in, of social media, and also social as in social to your locality wherever you are, and also family, and also as within your community. And obviously each one of them is got a different liability, as one may actually say, because obviously things in a family which must be kept in a family must not actually be allowed to actually come in a public domain or even a community domain. And obviously these are guided by law and international agreements, basically, because there are things which actually may become of relevance to some of the long-term impact. And obviously some information may not be of a public interest as such to be actually in a public place, or in to be given a public time, or even discussion in a public forum, because they are actually not of that nature. And obviously the law also may be violated as to what can actually be allowed as a public matter, which can actually uh, public matters, so as in public resources can actually be allocated to it, and one can actually objectively look at the information with respect of being a public problem which need, and obviously it's very important as well, because in a modern world one cannot actually escape from that, because you are actually a part of a modern world, that is modern 21st century world, and also having to honor and also behave as of those of 21st century well. And obviously there will be a problem with that, because some may physically exist in the 21st century, but basically in state of mind and also behavior pattern, or by nature of their business, or whatever they prefer to so-called, in some cases, I think the mile and more a word which may actually be of may be good to actually use here without offending will be a hobby. Obviously, some people hobby is different, but obviously the problem here is legal matters, the order of behavior as of in what is actually acceptable in context of 21st century. I mean, obviously, just take the last 10 years, or if I was to say 1990, and the world and how we are now, 2017, that will probably going back too far. If I say Kyoto Protocol, Rio Agenda 21, Millennium Development Goal, Health and Safety Act 1974, United Nations Geneva Convention for Human Rights 1952, and also as amended by Algiers, Algiers Declaration or Protocol. And going on from there, obviously there are also timeline which you could also mention, like 1963. Obviously, history has it, 1945, 1940, 1938, 1844, and again you will just keep going back all the way as far as, basically, as I was saying, 2,000 years, or even beyond that, which is a range of obviously yes, too much to actually even contemplate, because there are many years in between, and obviously just 1 year story, I'm sure no one will actually be able to keep up with a complete 1 year story that is 24 hours of a whole 1 year, that is 24 hours time is, I believe, is 360 something days in a year, to actually listen to for a story of a life. But actually that is what actually it takes in a usual scenario of a living thing lifetime. That is, if it stay 1 year, it is those number of hours. And obviously for you to actually understand a life of that thing, whatever that you are looking at, obviously since you cannot compare all things, obviously there are certain things which you can compare, like, lifeless thing, but living things you cannot compare them, because 1 minute they will be in a different location and they will be experiencing different thing from the other ones, obviously by will, or those who actually have the will, and also accumulate knowledge, also new skills, and will face the different challenges, and obviously it's just how you deal with them. But the implication here is a legal implication, also a matter of world peace, a matter of understanding, goodwill to mankind, matter of environmental protection, matter of new way of thinking for generations to come. Because if you take 18th century, or just let me just use the number a bit better, because it could be confusing for some people to talk about just centuries numbers without, because it's not really the same numbers. What are you saying in numbers and what are you saying in words is not really meant in bilingual kind of way, where I'm recording this message is obviously, which is London, obviously. So obviously 18th century, obviously they actually referring to a number 1700 to 1800. So obviously let me just use the number instead. So 1650, obviously, yeah, many things happened there. Yeah, 1500 also, yeah, 1400, going all the way to 10 and then 9s, and obviously down to 0 of whatever that time is, which is classified as after the death of Christ or before the death of Christ. But then after that one, you'd have to actually go into a different calendar, that is, of a time keeping, which is obviously, and going back also, you will have to also come to a point in time which also that calendar may actually be useless, because the data you're looking at does not fall within that calendar. You may have to actually go way back, and the more back you go, you end up in different places, different triangulation around the globe, different story, different texts, book, and historical document and facts and figures, and also characters of time and history of which have actually gone by. Obviously, we don't know. We don't have much information. We can just assume based on certain data which have been collected around the globe since the beginning of historical collection of data, that is, and obviously up to date, that is, and it's fragmented. Obviously, whatever one regional, obviously there is people are trying their level hard to actually unify things as in equilibrium of some sort of an agreement, of some sort of understanding or range or some sort of terms, but it's still very difficult in the modern world to actually define human rights and how to actually implement them. Obviously, human right issue or private issues or families issues or issues concerning children and women and disabled, and obviously it's different categories of even, like, if we take the medical range of, for example, of people of this planet, wherever they are in the world, a percentage of them will always have some sort of medical condition, which obviously could range up to 5,000 disease. From what I do actually believe is actually out there, there's about 5,000 disease, and a new one which are being discovered. Obviously, some cure which also may have come along. But anyway, within that range, with 5,000 disease, and everybody, or at least a majority of these people in this world now, about 8 billion or so, or 7.58 billion anyway. Again, there are disease, there are problems to do with the environment, there are issues to do with the lifestyle, there are issues to do with the criminal justice system, our finances around the globe are obviously you can't expect anything, because what is defined as exchange rate mechanism across the global currency is currently exceeding probably 190 something anyway. So obviously, again, there are implications with that, with economies and world economy, because what is important, I mean, in my case, I think world economy will be important, but some people will actually prefer world economies, which is regional kind of thing, which is obviously in some region they actually prefer to have a regional economy before actually contributing or having to be accountable to a world economy, or having to contribute to some of the rule and regulation within the world economy, which everybody must actually adhere to in order to actually maintain some sort of a standard, and obviously litigation, and obviously done right, basically unacceptable behavior in the world. But obviously that actually became intoxicating somewhat, and obviously, you know, the order of things now, how we are in this world, and obviously, as you just heard a moment ago, or as I was just saying, that a declaration of so-called famine has been declared in southern Sudan, but obviously there are other things which may have been declared as well. Obviously, we actually don't even know what is the projected figures of so-called casualties to be expected. Obviously, this sort of thing is like, when you go and actually declare that kind of emergency, obviously you are expecting, if something is not actually being done as immediately within the next 24 hours or 36, maybe no more than 72 hours, there will be actually a liability of endangerment of life, whether it's medical condition or relative also to the same condition, which is lack of nutritional valued, or even taking into account all the valued nutrition, which will actually enable you to actually maintain a healthy life without actually having to rely on a medical team or a medical support. And obviously, human body does not function properly without obviously is daily requirement or recommended amount of nutritional food. And I thought it was there, but obviously I may be wrong. Obviously, this thing may have, from what I do know, is this thing can turn actually to be used up very quickly, and obviously perhaps the demand which I was looking at, it was beyond perhaps my range of understanding anyway, because it was so huge. But I just pray anyway, and I hope that for those of you who have actually got an ability to actually make a difference, by all means, and may I thank you also in advance for. But we need to not only just pray, but also we need to take time to actually think about the long-term solution, because long-term solution is not just a matter of food security in the modern world, or social related problem, which also may have an impact on the other side of the coin, or the other side of our globe. Obviously, whatever I mean, in this world, obviously you can't just say it's well, it doesn't matter to me, because it does somewhat. Whatever happen, it does affect you, and you are either a part of a problem of this world, or you are either a part of a solution to some of this world problem. And obviously, I would like to think that all of us human beings are actually in it for being part of a solution to a world problem. That is, we are actually here to actually help one another. But obviously, some may be helped, but obviously some may, like those who are actually now being faced with starvation, and among other things, in terms of obviously some, obviously it depends on time, because I believe based on medical records that if somebody is gone for more than 24 hours without essential basics food, including the right amount of salt, sugar, water, among other things, not only just for water consumption for drinking, that is as in oral use, but also health and maintaining a healthy lifestyle also require the use of basically I believe anyway in the region maybe 50 liter every 24 hours at least anyway. So 50 liter per person, that is not a bad estimate, obviously. But obviously there will be people like now who obviously water alone is useless. Even if they could get 50 water, even if it's just from the well or the pump machine, that is not actually going to do any good, because first of all is they will be dehydrated, which obviously they will need water, but obviously they will also probably underweight, and because famine to be declared, that means there must be a lot of people who have actually been weighed in that range, and obviously found to be below the minimum weight, because for it to actually become a famine, because otherwise if everybody within the normal range of weight, and obviously especially children, and especially like in a huge percentage of it actually, because I just don't understand, I mean, why, and most of these agencies were actually there for more than a year, and they knew that this was coming, so I didn't know actually why they had to actually wait until right now when it's been declared as a famine, because I don't understand that part, because they knew then roughly what were the birth rate, and obviously what were the likely hood of certain thing happening within 1 year, whether for those who were born, and also especially for children. That's what I'm talking about. So obviously within the last 5 years, you would have been known how many children were born, and obviously when a famine there is declared, obviously the most which is affect a lot is actually usually the very, very young children, obviously between the age of even not, because lack of breast milk, and obviously supplement, as in from whatever source that may actually be appropriate and basically sufficient and also valued for that kind of growth which may be required by a growing child. So obviously, whatever, and you can't just. There are a lot of implications as well because farming is just like it's very complicated. It's not just about water. It's also there may be other problem long term also which can, if because it's not just going to be enough to just come in with emergency food, obviously, because if you predict that or project that over a long term, it's just going to bring a reliance on this. But obviously, this need a better way of thinking, as in how do we actually invest in the infrastructure to actually ensure that these people are actually capable of, or the region that is, would forget the word people because it may be derogative to some people, but obviously the region must be enabled by some sort of mean of mechanized division or mechanized to actually ensure that food security issues is actually a matter which is actually brought to abrupt. Obviously, put your horses on it. That's what I actually mean. I mean, the people of this world, obviously, if you really want to help in these regions, you actually really need a horse-powered kind of approach, and also ensuring that self-sustained and obviously low carbon footprint and mileage for whatever goods are actually required in this modern world, obviously, because we have to actually reduce, and that was the agreement of the Kyoto, the footprint of. Obviously, there are many things we will actually discuss, but anyhow, I was just my main concern is of that nature. That is obviously to one must actually try to contribute to advancements of humanity and social progress of humanity and mankind without resolving or being specific to a specific region, or obviously this is a matter of a 21st century world campaign, obviously, of peace and also harmony and unison of understanding and standard and unison of behavior pattern across the globe, where peace, obviously, the main thing is that people must live in peaceful coexistence, not only with their neighbors and so-called family members and community, but also with their environments. And also one must be able to be sustainable with the limited ecosystem resources. Obviously, we have to also reserve some. In fact, if it was up to me, at least I would reserve maybe even 80% of it, if not more, for generations to come, because we don't know, we don't have any guarantee how long this planet Earth of us and our descendants from our children and our children will actually go on. So obviously we can't deplete everything now. Those of us who are actually now here, we have to actually think about the generations to come from these so-called 8 billion people approaching, which actually inhabitant of the earth. Now there will be, and there are actually the new generation. Every year is coming in with a new generation. Yes, I don't know what to say for those who have actually been also gone to another place, I would say, which is a better place because of the religion's belief. That is a journey of life. Obviously, doesn't just end here, but also one must think of those who are actually behind. I mean, obviously, and also with regard to being humane, basically. I mean, obviously, you can't do all these things, or you can't even think of these things if you are not a humane person, and if you are not an open-minded person, and if you think that thing which people in the 18th century do that or did, that some of them are of gross, obviously they are gross. I mean, to some extent, that some those are as in bravery as to actually open a human chest in a hospital and assuming that a hard operation will one day, or has been, or will be, and obviously taking the risk, and obviously now is a ongoing thing again, endeavor. So obviously there are hard problem, there are obviously big problem in the world which we all have to actually contribute, we all have to work toward to resolve. So please, my fellow citizen of modern world, uh, let us contribute to actually advance humanity and mankind and social progress of mankind and humanity, and let us work together, but on the basis of humanity and human being and humankind, which is of 5 variety type of blood. That is, without that family branch or genetic imprint, that is blood imprint of 5 genetic imprint of humanity, obviously that means you can only get a blood from another human being which actually has the same blood group as you, regardless of color, regardless of point of origin. However, you cannot get it from an animal. But it doesn't mean that we don't have a genetical linkage as well, or some sort of relativity to those living things which also, and also in our environment. Obviously, they may have actually entered a human system or human chain or years, and also may have been there. But anyhow, again, issues of environment, and also how that one is relative to behavior, how is relative to, for example, in 18th century, people did a lot of hunting, people live, did certain things, but obviously, I'm actually here in London now, and there are things which people did in 1700, maybe even 1876, that is here in London, which is actually behavior which was going then, but is no longer going now. However, there's one behavior which I think is going on, and it's always been going on in this place, that is fireworks going on outside. So perhaps that's actually a message to actually end my so-called recording with a bang, because the firework outside is kind of excuse me, yeah, it's wonderful. Yeah, I would have actually loved to actually see some yeah, it's firework is actually better. But anyway, thank you very much, my friend. Again, I wish I was not, but I don't want to be sad about this famine thing, obviously, in southern Sudan. But obviously, with God's grace, people will actually find a way to actually survive together, share whatever little they have. I think that would be actually my recommendation. Don't just fight this by yourself. Whatever little you have, you mothers and fathers and the elders and those who are in the community in southern Sudan, please do gather everything together, I think, and obviously put the priority on those who are actually highly in need, as in perhaps you might even have to do some sort of a schedule as to what do you call ration food, obviously, if please, by all means, I think that will be my recommendation for those of you who are out there in that famine area. Just get organized, and obviously try to ration things out also, because there's still between now and obviously the next so-called season, when things are actually going to be arriving there from international community, or obviously the rainy season, that is, and obviously from rainy season all the way to the next so-called harvest season, that is, obviously. So please try to actually manage this situation. Don't let it get out of their hand. But thank you very much for those of international community who are also making their way there now, or also are already present there, trying to support and helping in the region. Your help is really appreciated, and your sacrifice also, as in having left your family wherever they actually are, or point of origin you are in the world, and the equipment and the hard, the burden in your shoulder, and also on the shoulder of your state and your community, for actually having shown faith with southern Sudan, and having actually been there to actually monitor the situation and also support one's one can actually help. And with those well countries and allies of Southern Sudan who have always been there, and social media who's also trying to actually help, and everybody who's actually contributed the same thing, that is the message of goodwill, I believe, is actually in order to all Southern Sudanese, and for them to cheer up, because no matter what's going to happen, or no matter what is going to come at them, I'm sure they will survive, and they will also come up gracefully and graciously from this famine. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.